Today we have got Ms. Karen Meyer. She is the program director for our undergraduate programs. She's been working with incoming students into our computer science, computer engineering, IT, and cyber programs for a long time. She's seen students come from all kinds of backgrounds, and I think is very well positioned to help understand what it is that differentiates between students that really thrive and are successful in college, not just in terms of their grades, but in terms of really enjoying the experience, positioning themselves for a good career in their chosen field, making good contacts with other fellow students and prospective employers, finding good internships, and all the other getting engaged in student activities and clubs and all the other things that are part of being successful in college. Um, and I think she's well positioned to tell us about the topic today, which is really how do you go about if you're coming out of high school being a successful college student in a technical major. So thank you very much, Karen, for joining us this morning.
Dr. Raymond. Yeah.
Thank you.
Um, Good afternoon. So I'm happy to be here. Many lectures, as Dr. Raymer said. Many of the faculty chose topics, technical topics on artificial intelligence and cybersecurity and such. And as I was thinking about this a bit, I thought this my topic is a question that I get from students, incoming students, parents, and I've been at Wright State for many years and like to say shepherded students through our program, all types of students from honors students to students that may start in a developmental math course. And common thread is they succeed, they earn a degree and they get a good job in computer science, computer engineering, cybersecurity. So I'm just going to share with you some of my tips, some things that I've observed over the years, some research that I've done and read and studied, and also some profiles of students that have done well to give you their views, student views. So I'm starting with, the assumption that you're graduated or soon to graduate. If you're a senior, you'll be graduating next year from high school and you're ready to start, your future, you're embracing it, looking forward to what's next. And, most of the students are excited about the change, maybe a little nervous, but excited. But students have questions. I've talked to students this summer who are starting and the age-old questions. We have doubts and concerns. Can you really do this? And if you can do it, how are you going to get there? Is there a magic formula for success? I can tell you there's not as much hand-holding at the university level as you get in high school. So it's up to the student to seek out and make connections. And we help you with this, but we throw you the ball and you need to catch it. You also ask a question if you're heading in the right direction. You pick a major when you start. Sometimes it's right. Sometimes you need to make a change. So as you go, you figure things out, and you say, well, what's next now? I asked the questions. I'm here. So what do I do to get to the end? Which for all of us, for all of you, that's graduation. So to start my presentation, I'd like to share profiles of 3 different students that asked those same questions 4 years ago. And I actually met those students in student success class. It's called CS 1030. It's part of a learning community we create, which I'll explain to you in a minute. But they had those same questions, and they lived and learned, and they're now graduating. 2 of them graduated in May, and one's going to graduate in the fall. And they made their own slides, and I wanted their personality to shine through. So I used their slides. So Matt graduated in May. He is a computer science major and a math minor, and he also earned a certificate in cybersecurity analytics. He was also in the university honors program, and he did a nice project for us, university honors project with one of our researchers, Dr. Dorn. So he talks a little about that, which you see on the slide here. Matt was really into doing internships, which are very important. So he did a total of 4 years. Every year he did an internship. He was also involved in one of the clubs related to computer science called ACM. He was in the Wright State chapter, and he actually had a officer's position. And then he, as I said, he just graduated, and now he's a software engineer, and he's in a master's program right now. The approach is lessons that he learned in his 4 years at Wright State. And we'll just kind of read through these bullets, and then we'll readdress them as we get further in the presentation. But Matt said that we need a healthy work-leisure balance. He said to get involved in organizations, internships early and often, go to the resume critiques on campus. And he said it was a good fit. Wright State was a good fit because he could meet with faculty, employers well, that he didn't think if he had been in a larger institution, he would have had the benefit of such good relationships with faculty members. So he credits smaller size classes, approachable instructors, and then close ties with those around him at Wright State. So it made it a good choice for him, and it matched his interest and goals. He's an excellent student, could have gone anywhere he wanted, and he chose Wright State. Jackie, her tips as this: things I wish I knew when I started. And she said to ask questions, even though it might be scary. She also mentioned internships. She mentioned to get to know her advisor. I happened to advise Jackie. And she said to remember that you're not the only one struggling, that this is hard, and you're struggling, your peers are too. You're not the only one. Mentioned to join groups, get out of your comfort zone, try something new, and have positive attitude. He's a senior in computer engineering. He's going to graduate this fall. And Zach is involved with several clubs. He's in the engineering fraternity, the esports club, and Tau Beta Pi. And he also liked the smaller class size and friendly atmosphere and ability to talk to professors. So again, you're seeing the common threads. Some of his study habits and tips are listed. Use office hours. See that as a common thread. This is I think is somewhat interesting. He said, associate specific music with specific classes to listen to when you're studying. That's the first I've heard that, and I like that. He said use the calendars and whatever application you like to stay organized, but definitely have a calendar. Keep track of due dates. Make cheat sheets. He means reference sheets to help you study, and use study groups. Use study groups, right? He says he likes the field he's in, and the money's great. And he likes to do other things besides computer science in his free time. Or computer engineering. Our intro, and you can keep in some of their tips in mind as we go through, and you'll notice that will reference some of the advice that these students gave you. So I thought we'd start next with how your department or your college, now the department that we're in, Dr. Raymer, Lisa and I, we're in computer science and engineering, but we're in the College of Engineering and Computer Science. Some of you that may watch this presentation may be in another technical field, not necessarily computer science. So that still applies, right? But one of the things that we do in our department, and also in our college, our department was the first, but we use learning communities. They're also called freshman seminars. And some of you, when you register, or some of you may be viewing this that have registered, may see a class called CS 1030. Well, it's a class, it's a learning community that runs for half the semester. And you're placed in that based on your major, your status, meaning honors or choose Ohio first, like maybe a particular scholarship or designation that you're given, math placement levels. And you're in a group of students so that in the seminar, and also in probably the same math class and also the same computer science class, right? So you're in these classes with these same students, and so that when you walk into a new classroom, you will start to see these same people over and over again. So they're part of what we call your cohort group, and it's contrived so that you are with these people, and you have similar backgrounds, and you make connections, right? So goals, as I've listed for these learning communities, to find out about your major early. So you're in a major, and like I said, you're heading in the right direction. We want you to find out early on, freshman year, if this is the right field for you. So we introduce you during that 7 weeks via videos to different research areas, so you can learn about things that computer scientists or computer engineers do. We bring speakers in to talk to you courses that are available in the time in college, so that you can make connections. So when you're in college versus high school, I mean, it's possible to go to class, learn, but not really make connections. Like you can be an island on your own and not really make connections. It's possible to do that, but to really get the most out of what you're doing, you want to make the connections and engage and make friends and people that you'll use to help you get through, and make it pleasurable for you. So that's one of the goals of learning community. We also teach you things like how to schedule classes and how to use some of the tools like the audits and transcript and things like that. So you take the right courses at the right time. So it's partly that. We also have you form study groups. So you've heard that from two out of the three students that I profiled. So we actually have you form a study group, and you have set meetings, and we give you tips on how to make a good study group and how to prepare for a study group so that you're using the time wisely and they actually work. Many of the students end up staying in the study group after the class is over. I know many that have stayed in the same group for 4 years. So that's also something that we think is worthwhile. So we incorporate into our community. Like I said, we connect you to resources such as counseling and wellness, help rooms, career services, and each other. You're a resource for each other. So that's part of what we do as we're going through those 7 weeks. Then the goal is to help you succeed. So personally, outside of academics and your coursework, we're hoping that dynamic of the cohort group will facilitate making friends and acquaintances in your major, so that you'll relate to certain people and you can do things in your spare time with those people. That the class, through common activities and experiences, will facilitate group identity and bonding, so that you'll feel part of the group, and that'll help you get through and sustain you through difficult times. So statistically, I could quote, several resources that will give us information on that students that are part of learning communities or cohorts actually do succeed, and they actually graduate, as opposed to students who may not be in such a community. So to increase retention. Retention is a good thing, meaning that you're going to stay and you're going to come back and return and finish until you earn that degree. So you'll have success, more satisfaction, and then, like I said, ultimately earn that degree. Something that we in our department, our college, provide is a learning community. Um, not all majors do that. There are also general learning communities outside of your major, but we in our college feel it's important for students to be placed in this seminar and the joint classes. Another thing we do, and this is university-wide, but started actually in computer science and engineering, is the use of active learning classrooms. I wonder if you've heard that term, active learning, or maybe the flipped classroom. And the idea is, rather than listening to a lecture and then doing homework after the fact, that is actually working together to solve problems during class. So you'll read before class, and then when you get to class, your professor will give you a small problem to work on, and you work with your group and you interact, and then you come up with ideas. and you can look at several students' presentation, not a formal presentation, but their ideas, and then you learn from each other. So if you look over on the right here, the benefits of that, if we look at something called the learning pyramid, is passive teaching versus participatory teaching methods. So you see how as we move up the learning pyramid, if you discuss, you practice, and you actually teach and help others. So even if you understand everything and but you tell someone about it in your group, you explain a concept, well, it helps you retain that information. So the idea of that is to help you learn, right? Versus just listening. Still helps to hear a lecture, to read and talk and watch a demonstration, but the participatory teaching methods help to increase retention rates. So that's the reason that we use active learning. And I can tell you, since we started this, the students love it. We use it in our freshman classes and some as we move up through the curriculum, but the students are very much in favor of active learning internships. So our advice to you is to get as many as possible in a varied environment. Every single one of our students mentioned the importance of internships. They're not required at Wright State. Some schools require them, and it extends the time it takes to graduate. But we encourage you to participate in an internship. And we have a career fair every semester where we invite them, potential employers, to campus, and students go. You can see the picture that I chose to show you. It's in the union, and we have it set up so there's a little privacy, and you can actually do kind of a first interview when you're at a career fair. This year, I know we couldn't have one because of COVID, but we did it virtual, and we were closed as far as employers that were interested in coming. So this is something that's important. The Brandeberry Career Center staff is there to help you, to assist you in preparing for career fairs and internships and jobs in general. An internship is one such way to become familiar with your area, to find out if you like, for example, working for the Department of Defense or for a private contractor, specific areas. So some of the employers I listed here that actually have attended these career fairs. And we actually have a class, there's a course called EGR 1900 that students can take that help you prepare for internships. It's a pass-fail class where you go once a week and you learn how to make the resume and you learn how to do an interview. And employers actually come in and talk to you about the company. So it gives students exposure to jobs in the area. All right, so those are all things that we do to help you, those three things. Also, another topic I wanted to talk about was studying and learning computer science or computer engineering or another technical field. Things that I've observed over the years that help students succeed. One is to form the study group that we mentioned, take it seriously. Members matter, meaning the composition matters. You want to have in a study group that pretty much on the same level as you, so you can all contribute. So it's not a tutoring session per se for one person or such. So the composition does matter. Organization and planning matters. So you have to figure out before what you're going to study. That's why in the cohort, in the learning community, you're placed in a study group based on the classes you're in, so that you have the same assignments. Maybe it's discrete math, so you can prep for quizzes and exams together. Assign a leader for each session. So who's going to be in charge of that study group and make the agenda and kind of keep things rolling. And then, like I mentioned, if Zach suggests, associate a song or band with the subject. Might make it interesting for you. Another tip, don't simply read, do. So with the technical major, such as computer science, where you're solving problems and writing programs, read before, but rereading the subject matter over and over doesn't necessarily help you learn it to a point. What does help you learn is to do the problems, to write the program, delete it, and rewrite it until you feel very comfortable, or you try different ways to write the same program, the same solution. So actually doing something, the hands-on part is very, very important for majors of a technical field. And also making reference sheets. So sometimes for classes, you're allowed to take in a reference sheet, and as you're studying, to make notes as you go to help you when you look at this again for reference. Okay. In addition, some other tips are go to class. Say that over and over to my students: go to class, go to class, go to class. If you start a class, most students show up, and I mean, if we're not there live, we're still we're going to have live classes that if you're remote, you can still be there and watch and listen to the professor and interact, right? So even no matter what the mode is, go to the class. Students tell me all the time they go to a class, they think they know it, or they feel pretty comfortable, so they miss a class or two, and then they realize missing just a class or two in college puts them behind, and they get behind, and it's hard to catch up when you're behind. We move very quickly at the university compared to high school, so one of our semesters is probably close to what you would cover in the entire year. So going to class is important so that you stay on top of things. Visit faculty during office hours. Both Matt and Zach said that's really important. You ask questions, you interact, and it might get you might become interested in the research that that faculty member's doing. They invite you to their lab to work for them as an undergraduate. So it's valuable to get to know faculty. Get help early, ask questions. This was from Jackie. Don't let it brew, because if you wait, there'll be a new topic that probably builds on this first topic, and then you'll become more behind. So get help early. And I'm a huge proponent of asking questions. Ask questions in class, even if it's to reinforce something you think you know. It's fine to ask a question. Visit your advisor. That's Jackie. I was her advisor, and she came in a lot because she just wanted to make sure she was on track. Zach was exactly the same way. Just make sure that you're taking classes at the right time, that you have the prereqs lined up. One thing about engineering technical fields, that there's prereqs, there's math prereqs for technical subjects. So you have to have the course in the correct terms. They help with that. Also, if you're having use Google Calendar and Google Keep or something like that. Stay organized. Begin assignments early. Heard this, I had a nickel 100 times or more. The project took longer than I thought it was going to take, and I started way too late. So I ended up doing poorly or just barely passing a project because I didn't spend enough time. So begin your assignments early. Academics with leisure. This is all three of our students, right? We want you to study and to work hard, but you need to take some breaks, and you need to have an interest. It's nice to have an interest that's not related to what you do 8 hours a day. Try something new that stretches you a bit, something you're thinking about doing. College is a time to try new things and to grow. So, take a class in a topic that you're just interested in. We have courses called K&H classes, and if you're registered for between 12 and 18 hours, no more than 18, then you can take classes. Like you may have 15, but you can take an extra credit and there's no fee for it. So students will take, fitness classes like fencing or ballroom dancing, weight training, archery, just to name a few of some of the things that we have out there. There's literally hundreds of different courses that you can try, and it's a way to meet people, and it's a way to help you manage stress, to get out of your room or get out of your house and participate. So that's something we encourage you to do. They're not required, but like I said, they're probably going to be free based on the credit hours that you're signed up for. Another way is to join a club. during Welcome Week. When you come to campus and start campus, there'll be organizations out that that you can explore and go to a meeting to see if it's something you might be interested in, like ultimate frisbee, for example, something like that. Right. And then other student organizations that we've mentioned at the beginning of this talk are listed here. But it gives you an opportunity. So you have leisure organizations, which are fun, but then there's student organizations that relate to your major. That'll give you the opportunity to dive deeper into your field of study or expand your sphere outside of the classroom, but related to what you're doing. So the Association for Computing Machinery, or ACM, that's a national group, and we have a Wright State chapter. They sponsor a programming contest. So we have a programming contest every fall, and Reynolds, one of the corporations in Dayton, gives out nice prizes. And we actually, many of our classes actually give you some extra credit points if you form a team and you go to the programming contest. Society of Women Engineers is another one. This is for all women in computer science, computer engineering, like Engineers Without Borders. We have a Sigma Phi Delta Engineering Fraternity that Zach liked. We have Tau Beta Pi Honor Society. You also have the opportunity to tutor. Like I said, when you teach someone else, it reinforces what you already know. So we have tutors that are assigned and trained through our Student Success Center, and you can get involved with that, right? And when you're joining an organization, becoming involved, encourage you to become an officer, committee chair, not simply a member, but take a lead in an organization. And then you can list that on your resume. And employers like to hear about things like that. So my parting advice to you, and some of this you may have heard, is to remember to be open to new ideas and opinions as you're in college to become educated. Remember that what you take away depends largely on what you invest. And remember that you're in control of your success. Here's a quote from one of our students: "Engineering's hard. You're learning a skill, but you've got this." It is hard. It's hard when you're learning something new. And it's just to recognize that it's part of the experience. So thanks for listening. At this point, do you have any questions or comments for me?
So thank you very much, Karen. This is great, great information. I wish I had had something like this when I was getting ready to go into college. I would say, all in all, although my grades were good, in many respects, I was really a terrible college student. And the reason
How's
I
that?
say that, well, so there are a lot of parts of success in college, right? And one of it is, yeah, you got to get good grades, because when you go out and you give your resume to your prospective employers for that first job, and the jobs after that, yeah, they're going to be looking at your grades, and so that's a part of success. But there's a lot of other pieces that you mentioned, involving getting connected with employers, getting connected with other students. It's surprising how often people find job opportunities based on where their friends in college ended up.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so, and the one thing that everybody here mentioned, and by the way, I love the profiles and who you picked. I know all of these students, of course, and one of the things that all three of them have in common is that they all spent a lot of time in my office. Um, and when you're in
Interesting.
high school, you're going to spend a lot of time with your teacher. You're in that classroom with them, daily, or depending on your schedule, a couple of times a week. Um, and you're just kind of forced to spend a lot of time. But what you can do if you're not careful in high school or in college is just see your professor in the classroom and nowhere else. And maybe ask a question or two in the classroom, but not outside of it. But every instructor, every professor has got office hours that they have set aside, for each of their classes, just for you to go to their office and talk to them. And a lot of students think, well, that's a last resort. I'm going to try and do all this on my own. And if I'm really, really stuck and I cannot figure it out and no one can help me, I guess I'll go to the office hours. but we're there, we're going to be bored if you don't show up to our office hours. We're there waiting for you during that time. We carve out other parts of our schedule for research and other things, but that time is reserved for students.
Mhm.
And students who are there a lot, um, like all three of the students that you profiled here, they get a lot out of it. Not only do they learn the material better. Sometimes they think they know something, but they've got like a misconception, and we're talking about it in my office, and they go, "Oh, now I understand it like completely. I didn't really quite get that piece of it." They do better in the classes, but even more, when you finish and you get ready to go out and look for a job, one of the things you may need is letters of reference, right? Employers want to have, if they think they're gonna hire you, they want references, people who know you and know your abilities. So who are you gonna go to ask for those things? Well, if you were took my class and you got an A, and I never really saw you outside of the classroom, I can write a letter that says, yeah, so and so took my class. They were a good student. They got an A. They did well on the labs. Employers around here see hundreds of those letters because we all write that same letter when we've got a student that just
Mhm.
came to class and did what was
Yeah.
required. But when a student's in my office all the time, asking me interesting questions, getting involved in things um, that are beyond the scope of the classroom, now I can really write a letter. I can say, oh, yeah, Jacqueline was an outstanding student, very curious, always asked insightful questions. I remember this one time, and I can tell a little story, and that letter is much more engaging, and employers are much more interested in that student. And I'll bet you, you mentioned that Jacqueline got a very good job. Um, Coming out of the program, and I know she had more than one offer on the table. We talked about
Oh,
it a
yeah.
couple of times.
She
So she had all kinds of offers, um, and she was able to pick the best of them. And I'm sure that a part of that was the fact that she knows her professors, she knows her advisor. I'm sure she got a great letter from you. She got a great letter from
Mhm.
me. That makes a big difference, and that's all part of this whole success package. Um, so really get to know your professors. And the other thing I'll mention, that I'm a little bit surprised none of the three kind of spoke about. They did in passing a little bit. Is there's a lot of opportunities to do more than go to class. We did talk about clubs and things like that, but almost all of these students, maybe all of them actually, but most of them with me engaged somewhere along the way, did something beyond the classroom in terms of their major. They did a little research, or they did an independent study project, or they did an honors project. Um, those kinds of things really set you apart and give you a real leg up on everybody else who's looking for
Yeah.
that good paying job in the field. Um, when you've done something, both because you can talk about what you've done, and also because you can show it off and say, I did this extra thing. Here's the code I
Mhm.
developed. Here's a screenshot. Here's what it was able to accomplish. And
Yeah.
that kind of thing really goes a long ways towards helping you to find great positions when you finish with the degree.
Yeah. Now Matt did do that briefly. He did the University Honors Scholar
That's right. That's
project.
right. So I was
Yeah.
on his honors
Mhm.
committee, and he
Mhm.
did an
Yeah,
outstanding job.
he did. He did.
Jacqueline
Yeah.
did an independent study with me. She wanted to learn more about computer forensics.
Mhm.
And so she took a computer forensics course as an independent study course with me that was really interesting. She sought that out. She came and asked me, can you put together this material for me? Because I want to learn more and I don't see it on the
Yeah.
schedule.
I
And
remember
Zach
that
has been
first
involved in
link
mentoring.
interview on that, Mike. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Zach was, he was a peer mentor and a grader, and really was one of the go-to people that people went to for help with their programming problems. And I think he learned at least as much, maybe more, teaching other students than I
Mhm.
ever taught him in the classroom. Um,
Mhm.
because you really get good at something when you're helping somebody else to get good at something.
Definitely.
So,
Definitely.
anyways, just my thoughts as I hear about those things. I really agree with exactly what these students are saying. They're right on the right track. It's all about getting involved, asking questions, getting to know your professors, and looking for other things besides. You can graduate, and you can graduate with a 4.0 just going to class, just going to class and doing the work. But you will be missing out on a lot of the other things that not only make college fun and interesting and fulfilling, but also open up great doors for you when you're finished with college and ready to go get your job or go on to graduate school.
Absolutely.
Karen, thanks so much. Really, like I said, interesting and useful topic area. And now that we've got this recorded, I'm definitely going to be pointing students to it. I think every one of our incoming students should watch this
Great.
and take advantage of it and do those things to be as successful as they can.